audio problems with stuff. If you hear anything, let me know. And also, if you have any other suggestions for a themed army that you would like to see on the field, then let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it in slow motion, and we're going to go over my opponent's list and then my list and what I was thinking with my army. So he has a front line of 5 greatswords, and he has 2 handgunners backing him up. He brought a witch hunter, which is a little unusual choice, but all right, and Volkmar the Grim, and he has 2 Demogryph Knights. So you can see here a lot of mining picks. That's because I decided, you know, it's not used enough miners. So we decided to bring the mining expedition, and that's the theme of our army. We're going to go with it. So you have a front line of 3 miners with just mining picks, and then we have Norgrim's Ironbreakers, because Norgrim Ironbreakers are for clearing out tunnels. So I figured, well, we need some of those, and we have Ungrim Iron Fist and some Slayers in the back with 2 Runesmith. All they have is the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, you can see there. And then we got some Gyrocopters, and we have Othar's Rangers, and we have regular Rangers and Rangers with great weapons. So the idea of this army is just to get onto your opponent as fast as possible and just kind of overwhelm them. We're going to see this army field against 3 different factions, and we're going to talk about what they do well and what they do poorly. My only regret is I should have taken Grombrindle. I just don't even know. He would have made more thematic sense. So I send in just the regular miners just to kind of pin everything down, and we're just going to start throwing blasting charges everywhere. Meanwhile, I see that he moves his Demogryph Knights. Let's look over here so we can get a better view. So he sends his Demogryph Knights here, so I'm going to take my Slayers and come up and around, and I'm taking my other group of Slayers, and I'm trying to pin them in, because you can see that all of this, this and this are just kind of blocked terrain, so he has nowhere to really go except for into the trap. Meanwhile, I'm able to finally get some miners into the back lines here, but it looks like they get caught on these greatswords. I think I originally had them on orders to get these handguns. And then you can see Volkmar the Grim. We've been working on him for about 30 seconds now. He's already at half, and he's just taking all the punishment. He needs to be taking Volkmar, and Volkmar just needs to be doing this number right here. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's up and down. It's everywhere, which way he can go. Now, good on my opponent. You can see that I have Slayers. Let me hold space bar. I have Slayers here, and Ungrim's, the Norgrim's Ironbreakers there. And he was able just to thread the needle and get into my back lines. But by now, the battle, as you can see, is almost halfway over, and his lines are already so tattered that it might be too little too late. So he's going to get into my back line here. He's just trying to break up. I think he's just trying to free his greatswords. But that's going to give me the opportunity to start throwing my axes right into these Demogryph Knights. And while I'm not doing a lot of damage, over time it's going to start to add up. Now, he's having to go out and wide because he's trying to avoid these Ungrim Ironbreakers. Over here you can see I'm just really starting to light them up with some blasting charges and really starting to go through. Meanwhile, in the back line, he doesn't have his unit on guard mode, so he's chasing off a unit of miners, which is fine with me. And you can see my Slayers have just come in here and completely shut down his handgunners. So 13 kills, 0 kills, so that was 13 miners that they killed. Meanwhile, 56 kills on one group of Slayers, 65 on the other, and we're just going to town on Volkmar, and we managed to shut down that witch hunter. Back over here, has one little pocket of resistance, and what he's going to do is fall into a trap right here. Not that I laid the trap, he's kind of making it for himself. So I got a unit here, 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 and here. So now he's kind of stuck in there, and he has nowhere really to go. Oh, and I do have the Slayers up here. So now he's just kind of stuck in here. He can't move anywhere, and I do have my 2 Runesmiths in there, and they're just dropping Runes of Wrath and Ruin on him all day, every day, because that's what we do with this army. Not too much else to say right here. The last thing I will note is he kind of leads off my Slayers, and as soon as I realize what he's doing, I just turn them back around and get him into this fight with the Demogryph Knights, and I just send my steam cannons, my gyrocopters over here, just to kind of force out Volkmar the Grim. And at this point, it's a good game. I hope you have a great time. See you later. So let's take a break. Let's take a look at the breakdown and to see how our armies perform. So let's go ahead and start with my army. You can see the Slayer's doing a great job of shutting down those handgunners. Handgunners only getting the combined kills of 13. And then they were able to catch the Demogryph Knights at the end. And then kind of a mixed performance out of the miners. The miners themselves are just doing their job of just being a speed bump for the greatswords, and the rest of the miners just kind of softening everything else up as I started to move in. So after the blasting charges kind of got onto those greatswords, the Runesmiths were starting hitting with Runes of Wrath and Ruins, which was starting to drop some models. So let's look at my opponent's side. So, it makes performance out as a great sword. Obviously, they're going to do great against versus the miners, but once he started getting to the back line, wasn't able to do much. My Nogram's Ironbreakers didn't really get to do too much, but that's because he was able to thread the needle. All right, so that's all I have to say on this battle. We're going to pick up where the expedition moves on against the Greenskins. So I'll see you then. All right, you can see that I'm bringing the same list, no changes here. I figured, well, the Greenskins can't possibly be better than all greatswords, so let's go over my opponent's army. So you can see he has Azog the Slaughterer, which is a kind of unusual choice versus the Dwarven faction. And I will hit him by a Mark the Oathfire, so if we miss it, just know I hit him by a Mark the Oathfire and he flies off. Over in the front line, he has the Hammer of Gork and the Rock Lobber, and I guess he's thinking that he's just going to start going to town on me. He has backed up by a line of Night Goblin archers, and then he has like his trap back here, and I can only assume his plan was this: have the Night Goblins hold the front, and then the nasty Skulkers and the Crimson Killers just come into the flanks, because I can't see anything. If I hold down the space bar, you can see I can only see this, I can't see these. And then he's harassing me over here with the Death Creepers, who are a good choice versus the Dwarves. Anytime you fight in a ranged faction, the Death Creepers, who do have regeneration, is a pretty decent choice. And then he does have Morher's Mangy Marauder. So Axel the Slaughter is over here chasing these gyrocopters off into the Wilderness, which is fine for me, because Axel is close to 2,000 points versus my 700 I spent on them, and that's just taking him away from the battle. So meanwhile, you can see that he just decided to abandon his post and just run, which is fine for me. And I'm just going to keep on pressing forward, because there's no sense in letting the initiative die down. If I stopped and he was able to rally, he could start making a plan. And you can see that he's moving his forces, but it doesn't look like he has any real clear direction. And I think what he's doing is he's still trying to fall back. And he's trying to fall back, and I think he's trying to make a little concave here to just collapse in on me. But I decided to keep pushing the initiative. I originally was playing around with the Death Creepers by the side. And it would be better if I just take one group of miners, leave that group of miners right here just as bait, so the Meiji Marauders and everything else just plays with that. And everyone else just keep pushing in. So you can see they're all moving in. Meanwhile, way here on the Shadowlands, Axel the Slaughter is still chasing, and maybe my opponent didn't realize that Axel only has a 72 movement versus the 105 movement of my gyrocopters. And what I see over here, you can see he's taking the bait, so now he's just wasting his ammunition on these miners. The miners are 320 cost, so I don't mind the Ranger Marauders just sitting there peppering away. It's killing off the miners. It just doesn't matter to me. You can see the track stars of the Slayers with their movement of 40 just really hauling ass and going down the field. I do take some Rangers over here, and I'm just trying to pick away the Mangy Marauders. I do have them on guard mode. That way, if he does get out of range, I won't chase them. So they'll just start opening fire over here on the Death Creepers. Now, I do kind of lay an ambush over here, and it wasn't intentional. I was just microing elsewhere, but it ended up working out well for me. So I had a group of Slayers here who are going to be hidden from Agzog, and then you see this big, fat, juicy target here. So what's going to happen is it ends up being a bait. As soon as any of these units come over here to take down these Rangers, I'm just going to come over there and shuttle run them in. Meanwhile, let's look at the fight. So my Norgrim Ironbreakers did get one volley of blasting charges off, and you can see that already dropped the Crimson Killers by half their life. None of them died yet, but they did lose half their hit points, and the Norgrim Ironbreakers are still holding up. So I see the engagements over there. I'm going to take Ungrim and my Runesmith and start coming over this way and start pressing forward, and you can see he's getting a nice little flankment over those nasty Skulkers, but luckily Norgrim's Ironbreakers do have that 83 melee defense, and they're just going to start holding up. Over here you can see that I'm really starting to get in there. I have the Slayers, I got some miners, another group of miners over here, and I was microing elsewhere, but I'm going to get one group of blasting charges off over here, which I don't know if we got any kills. We got one kill. But then once it happens over here, I'm like, this is a big old fat juicy target. You can see this mass carnage everywhere to those goblins. So those goblins have lost about a third of their life each. And let's see, do we get any kills? Not really, but we are starting to whittle them down. And we're just going to keep throwing blasting charges until we run out. Meanwhile, over here, I take my Slayers, I pull them off. I'm just starting to work down his range. If I can shut down those range, it's going to be good for me. And he was able to collapse one little group of miners here, and he's starting to collapse in here, but this is kind of the engagement I want. Meanwhile, I kind of missed it when moving elsewhere. You can see that the Slayers did get a hold of Azog, and I used my gyrocopters to kind of pin him down. I thought he was breaking, So I used him to chase him away. So unfortunately, he wasn't breaking. So now I'm just going to use the steam gun at any kind of range to pick him apart. And you can see that the body of the dwarves over where my miners are, all my miners just being riddled with arrows, wasting the ammunition of the 2 units over here. So now I'm just kind of holding him tight with my miners. I just want to keep this contingent in place. And then over here, I'm finally able to push off these Crimson Killers. The Norgrim Ironbreakers able to turn around, put some work on these Night Goblins. I did have the Norgrim Raiders over here to try to sneak them around because I wanted to get them right over here to start kind of peppering the Crimson Killers in the back. But I didn't see those Night Goblin Skulkers that rally, so I sent my Runesmith over there. He's going to pop a Rune of Wrath Rune. He's going to push him off the field, and Ungrim Iron Fist is pushing out the last of those Crimson Killers. So now I'm just going to leave this other Runesmith right here to finish off these Night Goblins, and I'm going to start collapsing everything on this kind of center mass here. And I thought I had the gyrocopters turned the other way, but I must have left them around facing the wrong way the entire battle. So that's a bad on me. So now he's kind of in desperation mode. He's completely out of ammunition. He's just sending in his little light cav, which really doesn't have much in the way of stopping power. And he's just going to try to send in here. But at this point, everything he does have is completely collapsing. I'm marking him by Othar once again, and we're going to get a little bit of range in there. We're going to start just peppering him again. And it's just going to be all she wrote. Because at this point, you can see Azog's falling apart. Once he starts to waver, everybody else starts to waver. So let's see how the mining expedition did here. So let's take a look at our list. So terrible performance out of that one gyrocopter who I didn't even realize was facing the wrong way the entire battle. But now your Ironbreakers get 93 kills, being able to hold off those Crimson Killers who got 50 kills on them. So they did a pretty good job, and then 166 kills to those Slayers who just went into the back line and started routing Goblins. And then 97 on the other group of Slayers, and they get a chevron for whittling down Agzog the Slaughterer. And then a decent performance out of my, Rangers with great weapons. And then kind of the same performance here, but they're all that splash damage really kind of weakened them for their Runes of Wrath and Ruin. Let's look at my opponent's side. So a great performance out of his nasty Skulkers, but honestly, I think you're better off just taking away those chevrons and putting them elsewhere. And then you can see the Hammer of Gork and Rocklaw were completely worthless, almost completely worthless with his Night Goblin Archers, just because he was on the back pedal the entire time, and he wasn't really able to get the collapse that he wanted. All right, so now we're going to step it up, and we're going to take the Mining Expedition against Chaos, and we're going to see how they do. I'll see you then. And the Mining Expedition is off again. So you can see there's a big gap, but luckily we got some track stars down here, and they're going to catch up. The only difference to this army, they took away one group of Rangers, and I have Gyrocopters, Brimstone Guns. And I do have a problem in this battle where the skirmish feature just wasn't working. Anyway, so let me slow it down while these things are going on. So I do hit the Chaos Sorcerer with the Mark of Othar because Sothrel does have a 70%. What is it? 70? I'm pretty sure it's 70. 70% resistance to missiles. Yeah, 70% resistance to missiles. So I just well, I'm not going to do any damage to him. Let's just start focusing on that Chaos Sorcerer death. So we're at 45. We'll see how much we do there. So I'm just ignoring everything else, and I'm just pushing for that front line. So he has kind of an unusual setup. You have the back line of Chaos Marauders and a front line of Chaos Warriors. Normally it's the other way around because most Dwarf players are going to have artillery. They're going to pepper your front line, or at least Thunderers, and put a real hurt on. And he does have the big old, what is this called? Hellcan. So let's go ahead and hit play. But you're going to see this is the battle war. It's real close at the end. I won't tell you who wins, but I really needed Grombrand. If I had that smoke bomb, I think I would have had a much easier time. So my strategy is to come forward, like always, and just start throwing these blasting charges. You can see I'm putting some good work in there. And over here, the Norgrim Ironbreaker. So that's one volley. No casualties. Second volley. They're already at half-life. So 2 volleys, half-life already. I only killed 6 models, but I think we get a third volley in there. And that third volley, you can see they're just getting shredded. So already 21 kills, and the fight hasn't even started. So meanwhile, in the back line, you can see this Chaos Manticore is just getting worked on. Or sorry, this Chaos Sorcerer is getting some work put on him. I'm trying to save my Rangers, trying to pull them back. And over here, this is one example. If I had smoke bombs, I would be able to get some work done on Sothrel. But I might have saved it because he's just going to take off and he's going to come up and around. Meanwhile, over here, this one group of miners with blasting charges, they didn't get any real kills. They only got 11, but you can see their blasting charges did a hefty amount of damage in all 3 of these units combined. And then over here, I'm just trying to spin around, and for whatever reason, I just keep getting caught. And every time I give orders, no matter if I put them on guard, it's just not doing what I want them to do. I sent my other group of gyrocopters, brimstone guns in here just to try to pin down the hell can, because I did not want the hell can getting into these fat units here and really start putting in some hurt. Back here, I decided to go ahead and start throwing some axes into the side of this combat and just try to move them off. And now they're kind of pinned in here. I'm going to start spamming that Runes of Wrath and Ruin, because all those blasting charges are really starting to whittle them down. Meanwhile, the Noble Ironbreakers up to 66 kills. That's the second unit they've routed off. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and reform the Ironbreakers, and I'm going to start throwing all the charges in there. And then once I see that this unit has rallied, I'm going to pull off this unit of miners and send them to go intercept. So I do think I have one more volley of blasting charges. So they're at 69 kills, and we're at 32, 30. So let's see how they are after this one. Get out of here, little. All right, so we dropped those bombs in there, and we did about 1,000 points of damage to both of them. Now that I'm out of ammunition, they're going to charge in. These miners are going to pull back and go over here. Meanwhile, over here in the center, I keep trying to get on soft rail. I have my slayers in there. I have my miners working. I got the runesmith is working down these chaos warriors, and I just can't seem to get it. And meanwhile, the skirmishing feature isn't working, because if you look at the gyrocopters are 105 speed to the 85 of those feral manticores, so I should be able just to fire and forget and let them run off, but it's just not working. So I pulled my slayers up and out of the way, because I don't want my slayers fighting this big group of chaos warriors, and I do misclick here, so I accidentally get the Wrath and Ruin on these chaos marauders instead of the chaos warriors. And now this is where I think I kind of make a mistake, but I don't know if it was a true mistake. I have this runesmith, and I'm going to send him over here and try to get rid of this hell cannon. I think my opponent thought I was going to be in combat, so he hit me with the Plague of Rust, but I was not, so it worked out for me. Meanwhile, over here, we've kind of dedicated all our remaining forces. I knew I couldn't catch Sothrel, so I sent all my slayers after the Chaos Sorcerer of Death, hoping I could drag him down in the fight, but it didn't work out. Maybe I should have gone after Sothrel. Maybe while I had all this mass, I could have done some work. So Sothrel's going after my runesmith, and we're really starting to push pressure over there. Over here, you can see these miners aren't really surviving, don't really have much of a chance. Only racking up 10 kills, but it is what it is. I am able to get my runesmith in here to start trying to shut down this hell can before it can really start putting some damage on me out there. If you look, and I hold down spacebar, you can see all that yellow is my units and all the red is his. So he's really starting to go down and push me pretty hard. I did get some of the slayers on him, and this is probably a key moment for me in this battle. So I was able to get him down to about a third of his life. I realized he was going to kite me up and away, so I'm like, well, me and the Axe of Dargo, we're going to just come back up here. And my goal is to do this, kind of hit this unit, come up here and make a little boost. Just come down, hit, and go. And this is the hurt here. This is where I wonder if I made the mistake. So if I sent this rune priest in here, and runesmith in here, and he just sends all these feral manticores on me, and there's just not much I can do about it right now. He's just going to keep hitting me and just work me down. Meanwhile, he's still firing, and you can see that this is, well, that was a good shot for me, I guess. It hit him, it only hit my miners. But I'm still putting in the work here, and the Ironbreaker's up to 146 kills, really starting to put in some work. And my Slayer is still trying to catch Sothrel, the Ever-Chosen. I just cannot reach him. He is just too fast, too furious. Him and Vin Diesel can go catch it out. So he's over here, still harassing my gyrocopters. I just cannot seem to keep them alive long enough. And he just keeps on catching me. So he's just still bombing me. So now I'm like, all right, now I got my clear shot. Let's send everything in here. Let's take out this hell cannon. And I've shifted my focus on it. Now my focus is to do this. Get the hell cannon and then cycle right down this line. If I can break his morale, hopefully I'll be able to get all his manticores off, because you can see that this one already has minus 32 from damage, and his sorcerer's at minus 32 from damage. And I'm just trying to focus him off the field. So I got that, rid of that, and now we're just going to keep on pushing through. But you can see the track star back here, I just cannot reach. So the mining expedition is really having struggles. But like I said, if I had Grombindle and the flash bombs, I definitely would have been able to get right onto Sothrel. I could have popped it right there with everything on him and just worked him down. You can see all the carnage here. So it's just kind of he broke through my center line with Sothrel. You can see he broke through. And then we just kind of had like two little pockets of fighting here on the side. You can see some of my dead rangers litter the battlefield, and poor Orthar's raiders. Now back over here to the main fight. I'm going to leave it on fast forward because I just do not have enough troop density. If I had like a full unit of miners, I would have been able to pin him down. But every time Soft Rail comes in, he's taking about 100 points of damage. So let's watch here. He comes in. He was at 885. Now he's at 770, 220. Yeah, so every time they come in, they're taking about 100 points of damage. But I just do not have what it takes. If I could have gotten 1, maybe 2 hits with Ungrim there, it would have been all she wrote. But now it's just getting cycle charged to death, and there's just nothing I can do about it. But it was a really close game, a really tight match, and I think that one choice of not taking Grombindle cost me the match. But well played by my opponent. And the only thing I would say is he should have switched his line. He should have had the Marauders up front and the Chaos Warriors in the back, but maybe he was suspecting all those blasting charges and was hoping that his Chaos Warriors would just be able to tank it. But we'll see. We'll see how everything works out. All right, all I have left is the Ungrim, and that's just going to be all she wrote. But he did almost kill the Everchosen, so almost fulfilled the Slayer's Oath. So let's take a look at how I did, how he did. So looking on my side, the biggest MVP by far is the Norgrim Ironbreakers. Look at that, 187 kills. They just wrecked half against Chaos. So definitely making me think that this is a staple versus Chaos. And then the Miners and the Blasting Charges did okay, about the same versus everyone else. And the biggest mistake is just these gyrocopters. They just weren't able to perform as well. For whatever reason, I just think I got glitched, or maybe I'm just getting old and not able to micro. So let's look over here at my opponent. A mixed performance time is Chaos Marauders. I mean, most of those kills are against miners, so you didn't really see any kills, or not kills, chevrons. And then kind of his Chaos Warriors, the same thing. So they just kind of got beaten down by just the Runesmiths, Ungrim, and those Norgrim Ironbreakers. His real MVP is being Sothro, who I just couldn't stop. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any suggestions for themes,